Hello, friends. Welcome to the Ryan Show YouTube channel. Last week, as I was scrolling through, as I call it, the devil's algorithm, because Lord knows what pops up in my feed. Some of the darkest things you could imagine, including my friend Bob Vinh Hung, who is doing the opposite of what most people are doing on my Instagram algorithm. He's actually trying to make the world a better place. Bob Vinh Hung is an American that has moved to Vietnam to help fight the dog and cat meat trade that goes down there. He's gone viral many times buying and freeing animals from the hands of Vietnamese folks that are about to eat them. Now, in Vietnam, it's commonly practiced for many years to eat dogs and cats, and we get into all the reasons why this is happening. And some people may think that it's almost offensive or culturally appropriating for Americans to not believe in this, but it feels like the wrong thing to do since, it's man's best friend. And cat is a close second of man's best friend. We've domesticated these animals. These are not wolves anymore. These are not lions or vicious felines. So for some reason, it just doesn't sit right with me. And also, I have a personal experience. I may just have eaten dog. I'm not sure if it was dog or cat, but when I was going to school at SUNY Fredonia, a Chinese buffet that I used to frequent got shut down for taking roadkill and feeding it to the masses. So it hit home when I saw this guy as I was scrolling through the devil's algorithm and figured, you know what? We're going to make this show, or I should say, keep this show international. And I invited Bob Vinh Hung to join me. And as busy as this guy is freeing dogs and cats from the hands of dog and cat eaters, he still found time to call in. So enjoy this 20-30 minute sit down with my new friend, Bob Vinh Hung, which aired on the Ryan Show FM radio program. You can hear a full Ryan Show FM radio program by going to our Spotify. But until then, I'll be putting some of my favorite interviews and clips right here on this YouTube channel for you guys to enjoy. Thanks for following, participating, and be sure to leave some comments whether or not you agree with the guy, and send this to a friend or pet lover so that they can have some input as well. Thanks, guys. Without further ado, my friend Bob Vinh Hung. And we are back. You are tuned in to the Ryan Show FM, broadcasting worldwide. And tonight will be no different, especially when we're going all the way out overseas to the great nation of Vietnam, a land far, far away. Many people think of the 1960s and 1970s, but me, I think about my wild ass Instagram algorithm, and as I swipe up and find different stories, and sure enough, I saw the great Bob Vinh Hung, who's out there fighting the good fight, trying to help all the other dogs out there be saved from being eaten. And I said, you know what? I'm going to reach out to this guy. I'd seen him on TikTok a few times out there rescuing dogs from the clutches of dog eaters and dog traders out there. I messaged him, and sure enough, he was quick to respond, broadcasting live just outside of Saigon. Welcome to the Ryan Show FM, Bob Vinh Hung. It's good to meet you, man.
Great to be here. Thank you so much.
It's really, first off, a testament to technology that we could even have you call in like this. But man, it's just not every day. Everybody claims here in America that they're dog lovers. You see PETA throwing blood on people, but you've taken it a whole step further. You're literally all the way in Vietnam fighting the dog meat trade, something that I don't think people really know much about. People might be kind of talking about immigrants eating animals here in the States more than ever, but you're literally out there looking at a country that serves dog as a cuisine. So, first off, Bob, I must ask you, what is it that got you into this good fight trying to stop the dog meat trade over in Vietnam?
Yeah, that's a great question. No, I when I first experienced it, I think that's what really, got me involved. And I was in the north of Vietnam where it's more common to see it in the open. And I went to a street market in Haiphong a couple of years ago, and I saw they had tables lined up, and there must have been like a couple dozen cooked dogs just sitting there, kind of like roasting on little skewers. And it was such a disturbing thing to see and upsetting, of course. But I also realized that, you know, if we're going to get this experience across to an audience online, you know, and of course, on Instagram and TikTok these days, you have all ages and you have people of various sensitivities and experiences. So I thought I never want to be the person who's posting videos and pictures of something this graphic. You know, that's I don't think that that's really helpful, and it's going to just hurt. It's going to cause even more pain. But I thought we can do something. We can make a difference, and expose the industry in other ways, but in ways that are not going to just be super negative. So I thought, let's focus on the positive. Let's rescue and save some animals, and let's show the process, and let's inspire people to do the same.
And you mentioned that some people might think it's shocking that algorithms might kind of push things towards people, especially like me. My Instagram algorithm is absolutely insane. That's probably why I stumbled across you. I don't have a lot of pro animal stuff necessarily. I think it's just a lot of shocking videos. So there is definitely going to be some heads that turn when they see videos like this. But you mentioned that there is an actual dog meat trade and industry out there. How big is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's like it's of course it's not as big as like chicken and pigs and ducks. I mean, that's like the most popular industries here, and the seafood. But it is widely available. You can, if, for example, if you're a thrill-seeking tourist like some people, and you want to come to Vietnam and try it out, or at least go and see what it is, or take a video. You can find a dog meat restaurant in any town. Probably like it would only take you about 10 minutes to find it in any town in Vietnam, I think. So it's definitely available, and that's all across the country. But if you're in the north, it's it's probably just as prevalent as it would be in China, you know?
Gets me is the condition in which these dogs are living. It's not like, and the farms are no better, right? You look at these animal farms in America, mass production, chickens not being able to take a step forward their entire lives, just sitting in the exact same spot. But I see videos on your Instagram of dogs in these wooden cages on bikes, and these aren't vicious dogs. They're just friendly dogs. I mean, I know that it's a cultural norm over there to eat dogs and have them as pets at the same time. Way more so than, here in America, some people might eat pigs and have pigs at the same time. But what kind of backlash within the country do people like yourself get that are trying to stop an industry that's essentially part of the culture there, although it's not part of what we're used to in Western culture?
That's a really good question. The backlash has been really enormous, and I've been painted as some kind of traitor. Some people have accused me of being like a CIA plant that's here just to hurt the reputation of Vietnam by by sharing this content. It sounds absurd, but there's some people that really believe that, and I think that when you ask about backlash, the main thing has come from one source. There's an Australian TikToker that reached out to me, a YouTuber, um, and he basically saw the videos, and he sent me a message, and he was like, "Bro, you can't be doing this. Like, this is gonna make Vietnam look bad. You shouldn't make any videos about this subject." And I talked with him about it, but he basically was telling me, delete all of it, delete your Instagram, stop being involved. He said you shouldn't get involved with any of this. And I just didn't feel the same. And I've already been saving animals, and a lot of people have been inspired, and they've been helping dogs and cats. And so I told him, no, I can't do that. And he told me, okay, I'm going to use everything in my power to destroy you, destroy your reputation. And this guy's name is Ethan Kelly, Uk Viet. But he has like almost 3 million followers on TikTok. He's got a big YouTube, Facebook, Instagram following. And he's just like decided, you know what, I'm going to make you public enemy number one, and his main following is like the teenagers here, you know,
Mm.
and the youth in Vietnam. So, and he speaks Vietnamese perfectly. I don't. So he just goes out, he goes and makes these videos, and he says Bob Vinh Hung is doing all this just to hurt Vietnam's reputation. He doesn't care about dogs. He doesn't care about anything except himself and to hurt Vietnam. And so that's why things got really like toxic. It's not that Vietnamese people don't love animals. It's not that they don't love dogs, and I promise the majority of the people here, especially in the young generation, would like to see the industry change and like to see animals treated better. But it turned into this whole like patriotic thing, in this toxic online drama thing. And I think if anything, it's just going to make it more dangerous for people that are trying to make a difference here.
Yeah, I mean, Vietnamese and American relations, I would imagine, are tense. I know it's been a long time since the
Yeah,
Vietnam War, and you look at just some of the horrors and war crimes. I would imagine that there's probably a bad taste in a lot of the Vietnamese people's mouths about Americans, but you spend a lot of your time on Instagram and TikTok also putting a highlight on some of the great parts of Vietnamese culture. So it's not even for those that are following you, it's not all about you trying to stop people from eating dogs. You're also letting people see what goes down in Vietnam from a cultural perspective. And I feel like people should be putting a little bit more light on the good side of what you're doing besides that. Because it's not like you're out here appropriating anybody. You're literally out
yeah,
here just spreading information. And when someone's
yeah,
trying to control the narrative, that's essentially trying to spread misinformation. So,
exactly.
I think you do a good job putting a balance out there. What do you think the relations are like just being in the middle of Vietnam and literally living there? Like, what is it like now, the relations between Americans and Vietnamese in general? We know most of the world seems to hate America.
Yeah, it was actually surprising to me when I first came to Vietnam, and this was 2019, and I went up to the village in the north in the mountains and staying there, and the people in the village were asking me, "Oh, where are you from?" And I was so nervous and kind of like embarrassed by my own Americanness, back then. I said I was Canadian. And I remember my girlfriend at the time got really mad. She was like, "How are we going to keep up this lie?" It was kind of silly. But since then, I've come to learn people people in Vietnam they are very open to changing the relationships with foreigners. And especially the young generation here, they admire foreigners and they look up to Americans, as these kind of superstars. We have Hollywood, we have hip hop, we have Silicon Valley, and all the amazing innovations that America's offered the world culturally and technologically. And so people want that, you know they and they're happy to go to McDonald's and Starbucks, even though Vietnamese food is definitely better than fast food. But there's kind of a mystique around Americanness, you know. So I think overall, it's a perk. It's a good thing, and people, it's just kind of like at least a novelty for them, you know. At least for the first like time they meet you, like, wow, they're cool. Let's invite the American over. In the future, they might not, continue a relationship based just off of that, um, but I would say online is different. In person, it's always nice, always kind, always polite. But online, I think, is where the frustrations and the negative feelings and the tensions are able to feed through, because there's nothing stopping it. You're hiding behind a avatar, you and a fake name, and you can just spew out all the heaviness that you have. You know.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you mentioned the love that they might have in person. I saw you recently up there with a picture of Diddy. I guess he hasn't got the news. The Vietnamese local with that poster of Diddy. I guess
Yeah,
the news didn't spread
exactly.
that fast.
It's funny, yeah. it's like, or the news spreads, or it's mistranslated, or or they're just like, oh, this guy just likes to have parties. No, they love parties
Wow.
here too. You know.
Yeah. So there's a lot of baby oil parties. I get it. That is unbelievable. Okay, so what about the people in Vietnam that also are trying to stop the dog meat trade? Is there an active group of people besides yourself that are out there trying to stop this from happening?
Yes, much more. Some people are much more active than myself, and I'm so grateful for them. Not only for like standing up and making a difference and standing up and protecting me too, but there's a whole community, and the nice thing is they know the culture, they understand the people, they know the policies, they know how to navigate it, where you can do something and save animals and not cause a bunch of trouble, because that's the main point here. you know we're not trying to cause a revolution. We're not even trying to appear as activists either. We're just want to help out where we can and expose where we can. You know, it's basically save the most lives, help you know, the most animals in a positive way without causing like a big storm. Like
It might be a very obvious answer here, but why fight to save dogs and not chickens or cows or another animal?
that's a great question. That question comes up all the time in the videos and comments, and for me, it's like it's because it's coming from the heart, you know? And it's okay for us to admit that we have a special relationship with dogs and cats. It's something, of course, it's historic, but I think now more than ever, I mean, you see it, like, especially in America. I think some people love their dogs even more than, maybe their extended family or coworkers. It's like dogs are so special and loving and trusting, and it's just something especially cruel you know about hurting them and mistreating them, because they really, they make a difference in people's lives, you know much more than a chicken
You're right.
or a fish could.
It's a man's best friend. Like they
Yeah,
said, and literally the dog evolved because of its relationship with humans. And not because we kept them in cages eating them. Like you look at pigs, how they've kind of grown into these animals, not by being a man's best friend, but by being eaten and slaughtered and farmed. Like you put a pig out in the wild, it starts to grow fur like a boar and starts to go back to it, reverts back to its original form. At least that's what I heard. Might just be a TikTok
yeah,
rumor, but at least that's
yes.
what I heard. So, you make a very good point that it does kind of hit close to home, and it does kind of just rub you the wrong way to see a dog or a cat get eaten. And I often wonder if it's just us here in America, but the dogs evolved everywhere all over the world. And these are cute, fluffy dogs. It really does hit home in your videos when you see like things like, mutts that look like golden retrievers inside of these cages. And they're friendly and you save them. By the way, while we're on that note, what is one thing that you actively do to help save these dogs?
Good question. I think the easiest thing for me as a foreigner is to go to the market, to find a place where they're selling it, where they're selling the puppies or selling the dogs that are in this industry, and to just purchase them, you know,
How much does a
because
dog cost usually? Like for you to purchase one of these dogs, what does it charge you? What do
yeah,
they charge you?
it can run anywhere between a few dollars, like $5 for a puppy. It could go all the way up to, I've had people try to charge me like $200, $300 for a large dog, which I think is ridiculous. But it really varies, and depends on if you're in the rural area or in the city. But maybe average price for a dog is probably like about $70 for like
Is
an
there a
adult dog.
specific breed of dog that they prefer to eat, or they just go for whatever woofs?
That's a good question. I think they do have some specific breeds, that are like Vietnamese breeds that they say these have always been eaten here, but that's not always an option. And I think what we see a lot nowadays is dogs get stolen from their yards, or you know
Wow.
that's the really sick part, is where people's pets are getting caught up in it. You know,
Wow. So that actually happens. We hear Trump on TV talking about migrants eating dogs and stealing your pets. So that actually does happen in Vietnam.
100%, 100%. Yeah, and I've talked with a lot of people. Some of the people that have gotten involved and helped me. It's for personal reasons. It's because they've lost pets. I know one girl in Dalat, and her cat. Yeah, this is a crazy story actually. I think they had three cats from the same house stolen within like a summer. You know, it's like it just kept happening. Like the cats just, because you know how it is. You don't keep your pet locked in a cage unless you're a sick person. You know,
Yeah.
so most people they let the cat outside a little bit in the alleyway or in the backyard, and suddenly the cat's gone, and then it just keeps happening, and they realize, okay, there's like a pet meat industry in this neighborhood, you
That
know,
is horrific.
or someone just really desperate. But the thing about it is, it gets painted as desperation, but these are usually used in like ceremonies, like a wedding or a party. It's usually accompanied with like um, drinking and celebration. So it's not like someone's just like, "Hey, honey, we really need to go get a dog tonight. It's our only option." It's not like that. You know?
Wow. That is nuts. Is there an animal, or this is another thing I was thinking actually, is how prevalent is the dog meat trade in America? Have you learned more about it since seeing it in Vietnam? Are there red flags even that we can detect? We make all these jokes about the Chinese restaurants. Obviously, that's not chicken on a stick.
Yes,
How real should these fears be?
yes. I I am not an expert on the the industry or trade in America, and I would be careful to really speculate on it, just because I think there's like some harmful stereotypes around it. Um, so yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's happening in America.
And well, you know what? It looks like we're losing Bob. We got a bad connection all the way out in Vietnam, right outside of Saigon. Bob Vinh Hung is calling into the Ryan Show FM. We're gonna go to a quick break and get this latency issue figured out and play a song. Don't go anywhere, folks. We shall return. The Ryan Show FM and all things Ryan Verneuille are brought to you by the greatest cleaning company in the New York City and Long Island area, La Liaison. La Liaison Cleaning is a premier commercial and residential cleaning company proudly serving the diverse regions from New York City all the way out to the Hamptons. Not only does La Liaison deep clean using the best materials possible, organic materials if requested, but what sets them apart is their unique specialization in energy cleaning and removal. The folks at La Liaison focus on enhancing the feng shui of every space that they touch. Their dedicated team employs advanced techniques to clear stagnant energy and create a harmonious environment, ensuring that both your home or workplace are not only spotless but also revitalized and balanced. Whether you're looking for a thorough cleaning or a transformative energy refresh, La Liaison Cleaning delivers exceptional service tailored to your needs. Book them today online and see for yourself why you need La Liaison in your life. Look no further for a cleaning company. Go to La Liaison's website, laliaisonllc.com. That's LALIAISONLLC.com. Good morning, Vietnam. We are live and direct right here on the Ryan Show FM with my pal Bob Vinh Hung, discussing the dog meat trade in Vietnam and much more. And that song that you just heard was a recommendation by Bob, Song Tong Song Tong MTP. We don't really
Yeah.
play Vietnamese music often on this radio station that you're listening to, so it's nice to switch it up again. But Bob, we left off with some bad latency there, but I started asking you a question in which we got cut off. And I asked you about the dog meat trade in America, and you said that you weren't really much of an expert, but just from what you've seen, what are some warning signs to know that what we're eating is not actually chicken or pork or something else? Is there anything that you've seen that's kind of a red flag?
Mm, that is a good question. I would say if the meat doesn't look familiar in any way, because when I looked at dog, it doesn't look like pork. It doesn't look like chicken. It's it's got a, you can look up online, if you really want to be careful, because it's kind of hard to just describe it in audio. But yeah, just kind of be familiar with what it would look like, and of course they're not going to be doing it like Vietnamese style, like with a big whole dog on the table or whole cat on the table. So yeah, you kind of want to just check. But I wouldn't worry about it too much in America. I wouldn't worry about it, because I think if it's happening behind closed doors. It's being done secretly. It's not. They're not trying to force dog meat or cat meat on Americans. You know, this is
That's
something
good to
that's
know.
like, hmm? Yeah,
It's good to know because sometimes you see some like horrible causes that are being pushed, and there's an agenda to push these horrible causes. Like as far as there were even like pedophile groups here in America trying to say that that's okay. So I wasn't sure if there was some type of group that was pushing the dog meat trade and trying to almost normalize it in countries like America. It's good to know that our dogs can sleep better at night.
exactly, exactly. And speaking to that, I think the Vietnamese community, Chinese community, Korean communities in America are incredible. These are people that have really made it in a foreign land, and of course they brought some parts of their culture with them and some of their traditions with them, but they've adapted, and they know how other people see it. And I'm sure the young generations there have their own changed feelings on it too. So I want to just say, let's definitely keep the kindness between cultures, and just remember that people in the Asian community in America face a lot of struggles, you know, and I just want to make sure that we don't push that stereotype.
Yeah, for sure. Right. There's a lot of stereotypes that are pushed here, and a lot of jokes that are made. You're seeing firsthand the actual what's actually happening in reality over there. You mentioned that it's a celebration a lot of times. I also read somewhere that people eat dog thinking that it brings good luck. You know how
Yeah,
true that is?
yeah, totally. That's I really like that question, because that's a big part of everything in this culture here. Everything is done for a reason, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like they want to get some special fortune or special blessing, or even get like the power, the spirit of the animal. Because it is a powerful dog, a powerful animal, and they're protectors. You always see dogs protecting a house, and so if they kill a bunch of dogs at a wedding, for example, and cook them and eat them there, that's going to be they're hoping that's going to bring a lot of protection and luck around their marriage and their relationship and their family. So it's very interesting when you get into like how much a lot of this is tied in with magic and ritual, and yeah, which fascinates me. I've always been interested in that side of things here.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. That is true. In a lot of cultures, you eat certain animals to acquire the power of the animal,
Yeah.
especially outside of America. That is a
Yes.
very good point. So, is there a group like PETA or anybody that's reached out to give you your kudos or asked you to join up? Because you have one of the biggest TikTok accounts that I've seen that's trying to fight this horrible thing.
Um, I've had lot of people, tons of people have reached out. Not any organizations, because I think they're so busy. You know, they're caught up in what they're doing. Um, but I've had a lot of people reach out through Instagram and connect and share their experiences. That's the amazing thing. I kind of felt a little bit alone at first in rescuing dogs and also just exposing the industry, raising awareness. But wow, there are so many people that I want to just go ahead and say they're much more dedicated than me, and they make much bigger sacrifices. And it's really inspiring to see them in Thailand, in Africa, Cambodia, Laos, Indonesia, Korea, Japan, that are really fighting, to save animals. And it's amazing because, I know that it takes a toll on these people's lives. I know that it's difficult for them. So it's helpful when you do connect and you hear about other people's stories, and 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 they show how it's worth it. It's always worth it to them, no matter what they go through.
I could only imagine. Like you said, you're facing one guy online trying to weaponize his platform against you.
Exactly.
So, I mean, no matter what country you go to, there's going to be some type of a backlash, especially if you're American. Then there's that whole side of people attacking you saying it's not even your country. What are you doing here? So, that being said, what do you think the future looks like for the dog meat trade? Do you at least see a trend in the direction of it ending since you've been fighting the good fight?
Yes, there is a trend. There is a trend. And the funny thing is, it's like, even though there's a lot of backlash and toxicity and just kind of noise around it right now, and sometimes I'll have people send me pictures like, hey, Bob Vinh Hung, look at what we're going to eat this weekend. This is for you, And people try to kind of scare me or just upset me, but I think it's being talked about. That's the point, you know?
Yeah.
That's the point. It's not like something that they're just like, oh, let the uncles do their thing, let the old men just, it's become more real. And I think that's the amazing thing with humanity is it's like once something's really in our awareness as a collective, with this internet, with this collective consciousness, it starts to shift. So it is. Can I say how much it is shifting or how quickly? It's hard for me to gauge that. I mean, I can only know what's happening on the ground here, but I think especially the young generation, Gen Z in Vietnam, they're going to change this. You know, they're going
I
to
can
be the
see that.
ones to change it.
So, is there a chance that we're going to see you back here in America anytime soon?
Yes, for sure, because I have family on the East Coast and I have some family in California too, in Colorado. Um, but I'm really dedicated to just building my life here. You know, I I really want to kind of treat this like this is this is where I'm going to stay for a long time. So maybe I'll come back in a couple years.
What do your family and friends think about the decision to stay there and fight this dog meat trade?
You know, they they definitely support it. I know my mom gets worried. You know, I know that my brothers reached out to me too, and they just want to make sure that I'm careful, and they want me to be smart about how I share things, and whether or not I get involved with like conflicts online or conflicts offline. Like they're concerned. But I come from an American family, animal loving family, kind Christian family, and those values are part of me, and I know that they're they would do the same in my position. You know?
And that's a beautiful thing to have the support from home. So, if you do come back to America, are you going to take the good fight with you and try to hunt down the dog eaters and the dog meat traders here in the United States of America?
Absolutely, absolutely. If I was in America, I would definitely do my best to expose it, because I found it's easier to find than people might think. I think people were really shocked at first. And they're like, no, that's not. They would say, oh, that's not in South Vietnam. That's not in Saigon. That's only in the countryside and in the jungle. And I'm like, absolutely, it's everywhere. So I'm sure it could be exposed quite easily in America if people wanted to. But I think, of course, some of the communities and some people, they protect themselves, and they're probably a lot more savvy and careful in America. But it's still going on. So I would definitely want to be a part of ending it there.
I'll never forget. I went to school in upstate New York, and the Chinese buffet that I used to frequent got shut down because they were serving dog meat. And
Oh
that's one of the reasons why I reached out to you. I was like, damn, like this hits close to home. I was hoping that I wasn't eating any dog looking back on things. But it does go to show that it actually happens, not just in Vietnam where you're documenting all of it, but right here in the United States. Is there someone or somewhere that we can see what's going on in America? Someone that's paralleling what you're doing here in the States? Because I haven't seen anybody fighting the good fight.
yeah. Well, first of all, that is like, I think everyone's worst nightmare, to discover your favorite Chinese buffet is doing that. That's
That's
horrible,
as
man.
hell. Crazy.
Yeah. I'll have to touch base with you about that. I'll try to do some more research about what's happening locally, in America, and I'll give you more information on that in the future.
I do appreciate that, Bob. We've got Bob Vinh Hung calling in all the way from outside of Saigon, and he's trying to end the dog meat trade that is going down right in front of him. Beautiful little dogs in cages. And if you're an animal lover like myself, you want to see it come to an end. It's like Bob said, yeah, there's cows and chickens and pigs and all these things, all these animals that are farmed. Whether or not you're a vegan, it might rub you the wrong way, but there's something that just hits close to home. There's something that just hits different, as Uncle Murda would say, when it comes to seeing these little precious doggies and kitties getting eaten. So maybe it's just my Western views, but it frankly makes me sick. So, Bob, I want to thank you for calling in tonight. And where can we follow you on TikTok, Instagram, and all those other places?
Yes, thank you, Bob Vin Hung. So it's Bob Vin Hung, and it's the
That's
same
V
on
I N
Instagram.
H.
Yeah, VinHung.
And
Thank
I
you
know where
very
I'm
much.
going after this. Yeah, no,
It's
thank you, Bob. And any last wise departing words for the audience out there listening tonight here in America?
Yeah, no, it's a kind of a heated time now, and political time, and I would just say, be kind, be nice to each other, have fun. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Just enjoy it.
I love it. I will enjoy it. And I hope everybody out there does too. To everybody out there listening, know one thing, that all dogs go to heaven. Bob, may the force be with you always. We'll return soon, folks. Don't go nowhere.